Hello friends, today's story is about a person who fell under the influence of a psycho person and now he is forced to live life with that psycho person like a pet. Not only this, he always has to remain in a dog's costume, but he also has to do all the activities that a pet dog has to do. But this is not enough for that psycho. He also tortured this man at extreme level. This will give you goosebumps after seeing this movie explanation. Now the question is, can this man ever get rid of this hell-like life? Will he ever be able to live like a normal life? So without wasting much time, let's see what happens with this man. Friends, the name of this movie is Good Boy. At the beginning of the movie, we see a man named Christian who is cooking chicken very nicely. After preparing the chicken, he serves it professionally on a plate. He also keeps some chicken in another steel bowl. After this, he calls a man named Frank. We see that Frank has came in a dog costume, walking exactly like a dog, and its way of eating is also like that of a dog. Christian sits at his table and checks the profile of a girl named Sigrid on social media and indirectly proposes to that girl. He also tells Sigrid about his wealth. Christian then cleans up Frank like we clean our pets. Even he applied toothpaste himself on Frank. After this, Christian tells him that it is time for him to sleep. And on hearing this, Frank gets down from his bed. Before going to sleep, Christian looks at Sigrid's pictures again. Next morning, Christian has breakfast and also give Frank some dog food to eat. Then after some exercise, he once again sits down to chat with Sigrid. Shortly after this, he gets ready and goes to meet Sigrid. He sits in a restaurant. At the same time, Sigrid also reaches there. Kristen orders a beer for her too. While talking, Kristen notices that Sigrid is repeatedly getting distracted by her phone while looking to him, which Kristen doesn't like. Both of them got so lost in talking to each other that they did not even realize when it was evening. That's why Kristen invites Sigrid to his house. Sigrid also agrees to once without thinking. Sigrid is surprised to see Kristen's big house and his wealth. After reaching home, Kristen offers her wine. He also tells her that he lives alone in this house with his pet dog. We see that Frank is secretly watching them from the other room because he is not allowed to come out in front of guests. Christian tells Sigrid that his parent left this house for him. This way, both keep talking to each other and after some time, both kiss each other. After this, both go to Christian's bedroom and both spend some time together. But even here, Frank has his eye on them. The next morning, Sigrid notices that a man is sitting in her room who is behaving like an animal. Sigrid gets nervous. Then Christian tells her that this is his pet. Sigrid finds these things strange, but for now she remains silent. She sees that the man is indeed behaving as if he is a dog. After this, both have breakfast together. Sigrid keeps observing Frank even during breakfast. But she doesn't understand why Christian has dressed this man in a dog costume. And why is he saying that this is his pet? She thinks that maybe Christian has some psychological problem. She gets scared and tries to get out of there. Christian tries to understand her, but Sigrid doesn't listen to him. She asks Christian to give her access to her house right now. Christian also drops Sigrid at her house like a gentleman. Also, while leaving her, he apologized to her for not telling her about Frank earlier. We see that after this, Sigrid is showing Christian's photo to one of her friends and talking about him. She also says that Christian is very rich and his parents have left a lot of money for him. Then her friend says that leaving such a boyfriend just for a small reason would not be right at all. After this, Both of them together watch videos of some puppy games, in which a man pretends as if he is a dog, and a girl pretends that she is its owner. Both understand that this is not a psychological problem, rather, all this is just a hobby of rich people, and maybe Christian is also like that. Sigrid then contacts Christian and apologizes to him for her behavior. Settling everything between themselves, both of them plan to meet again the next day. And the next day, both of them meet and talk about a lot of things. During further conversation, Sigrid learns that Frank is an old friend of Christian, who has no one else in this world. One day, Frank himself decided that he would become Christian's pet and stay with him for the rest of his life. And when Christian came to know about this, she could not refuse Frank. And since then, Frank has been living with her like this. To understand Frank better, Sigrid behaves with him in the same way as a pet owner does with him. But Frank gets a little too close to Sigrid while playing. Due to this, Sigrid gets nervous. Then angry Christian yells at Frank and tells him to leave. After some time, we see that both Sigrid and Christian are sitting and talking. Christian tells her that he has never had good friends since childhood. All the kids came to him just because he had the best and most expensive toys. But there was one Frank who was different from them all. We see that when Sigrid wakes up the next morning, Christian brings her breakfast, and Frank comes over and apologizes for what happened last night. Sigrid was late for her college, that's why Christian drops her off at her college. The same day, her friends come to her during lunch break. She asks her about her and Christian's relationship. That evening, when Sigrid was at Christian's house, even though she didn't want to, Sigrid tells Christian that she has to go home. But Christian doesn't let her go. Instead, he spends another night with her. That same night, on the bed, Sigrid tells Christian that if we want, we can give Frank a normal life, like we find him a girlfriend. Hearing this, Christian starts laughing and gives no answer. Christian proposes to Sigrid that to go with him to another house of his, which is far away from the city. He tells her that if we go there, we will be able to spend more quality time in the natural environment there. Sigrid happily accepts his proposal. After this, all three go to that house, which is in the middle of the forest, far away from the city. After reaching home, Christian says that there is only one bedroom here. That's why Frank will sleep in the same room with them. Sigrid also agrees. Then Christian says that it was a joke. During dinner at night, Christian notices that Sigrid is repeatedly checking her phone. He doesn't like this at all. Then Christian asks her to hand over her phone to him for a few days. Then, despite not feeling like it, Sigrid has to obey Christian's words and she gives him her phone. In the evening, Christian was sitting on the sofa drinking wine while Sigrid was playing with Frank. And while playing, Sigrid's attention goes to Christian and she gets up and sits near him. After a while, Christian goes to another room to get another bottle of wine. At that very moment, Frank comes near her and takes off his mask. He goes to Sigrid and says that Christian is very dangerous. You must leave here immediately. Sigrid gets very nervous after hearing this, because of which all her feelings for Christian disappear within a minute. When Christian gives her wine to drink, she tells him that she is very tired. That's why she wants to sleep now. The next morning, Sigrid tries to escape before everyone wakes up. But on reaching the door, she sees that the door is locked. Then she starts searching for the key in Christian's jacket laying there. At the same time, Christian also reaches there. He asks Sigrid what she is doing here. Sigrid gets very nervous when she suddenly sees Christian in front of her. She says she was going outside to get fresh air, but she could not take it out because the door was locked. Hearing this, Christian takes her out. He tells her that he locks the door every night before sleeping. Sigrid asks him for another key so that Christian doesn't have to worry about it every day. Then Christian tells him that he has only one key. On the other hand, due to a lot of stress, Sigrid starts vomiting, because of which she is not able to eat anything. She now asks Christian for her phone because she wants to talk her mom. Sigrid also tells him that her mom is very ill and she needs to inquire about her well-being. Christian agrees with this and gives her phone, and after putting the phone on speaker, he asks to talk to her. Her mom tells her on the phone that she is fine. Then Christian tells her that she has become very addicted to the phone. Saying this, he once again takes the phone from her. After this, Sigrid tells Christian that she wants to go out with Frank, and then Christian understands what both want to do. Still, he lets them out. Coming out, Sigrid asks Frank what the matter is. Frank says nervously that Christian's eyes are always on him. He further says that Christian is a psychopath and it's not that easy to avoid it. But while he is sleeping, we can kill him and run away from here. But Sigrid doesn't agree to this. Still, for her own safety, she keeps a knife under her pillow. At the same time, Christian comes there to change the bedsheet. Seeing Christian suddenly in front of her, Sigrid begins to fear getting caught. That's why she tells Christian that she will change her bedsheet herself. Then Christian becomes more suspicious of Sigrid due to her behavior, but he doesn't say anything to her. Christian knocks loudly on Sigrid's door while she is bathing and tells her that he wants to discuss something with her. Saying this, he waits there for Sigrid. Sigrid gets very nervous. She thinks maybe she got caught. She nervously comes in front of Christian and asks, "What's the matter?" Then Christian tells her that you have not put the bedsheet properly. And as soon as he says this, he starts laughing. That means he was joking with Sigrid for so long. At that very moment, Christian starts kissing Sigrid. But Sigrid is not in this mood at all at the moment. That's why she kept pushing him away, due to which Christian falls down. Without saying anything else, Christian goes into the kitchen and no one talks to anyone at dinner time. And after dinner, when Sigrid goes to her room, then suddenly her legs starts wavering and she falls unconscious into Christian's lap. Christian picks her up and takes her to the room. The next morning, when Sigrid opens her eyes, she puts her hand under her pillow and sees that the knife is not there. Then Christian tells her that he wants to show her something. Christian puts on a recording in which Frank and Sigrid's mutual conversation is recorded. Then Christian takes out a knife from the drawer, which Sigrid had kept under her pillow to kill Christian. After this, Christian takes Sigrid to a room at the back, where Frank is sleeping in a cage. After this, he puts his hand in the cage and removes the mask from Frank's face. Then suddenly, Frank bites his hand and takes him out of that cage and attacks Christian. Taking advantage of their fight, Sigrid leaves the house. And when Christian sees that, then he starts getting very angry. After this, he ties Frank with a chain and takes him out and tortures him badly. He puts a cloth on Frank's mouth, blindfolds him and puts headphones in his ears and pours water on him and then covers its gap with a polythene. And then he was about to faint, Christian puts him in the cage once again. After this, he hits Frank's cage several times with a baseball bat. Frank is forced to behave like a dog once again. He also starts barking like a dog. But Christian's anger doesn't calm down even this. He once again takes Frank out of the cage, removes his clothes and starts beating him badly. On the other hand, Sigrid understands that she can't get out of this forest alone. That's why she once again returns to Christian's house with a stick in her hand. She hears Frank screaming from outside the house. She sees Christian being tortured with headphones. Taking advantage of this opportunity, she hits Christian on the head from behind with a stick. Then Sigrid tries to pick up Frank and come out. At that very moment, Christian gets up and blesses both of them and both fall on the ground. Then scene changes and now many days have passed since this incident. We see that Christian is making breakfast again. He keeps some breakfast in a steel bowl and spits in it and places that bowl in a cage. And Frank is asking for the same food. After this, he goes to another room and there too, Christian is giving food to a human being in a dog costume. That means Christian has kept Sigrid as his pet, just like Frank. Christian tells him that soon he will be taken to the room. And in the last, we see Christian going to the kitchen and carrying breakfast in another small bowl. And after placing that bowl in the middle, he opens the lock of another cage and says, "Son, wake up. It's time for breakfast." And we hear the sound of a child coming near that bowl. And with this, the story of this strange hobby of a psycho man ends here. So friends, how did you like this story? Do tell us in the comments, and for such movies, subscribe to Movie Recap and see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care.